Hello, everyone. I was asked by Mario to lead you this week as he's trying to contact the Queen of the Aes Sidhe. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We may have a problem. If something in the void is using Mario, then none of us are safe. But we are lost in an endless void with visions that would drive even the strongest person mad. So how safe could we have really been even before that information? Anyway, I'm monitoring the Dream Priest's mind for any more transmissions that might come through. I apologize if I'm not the best host, but I feel like we all had fun times together when we first met, right? Not to scare you more, but that world is a future that might still come true if the shadows get their way. Hopefully the elders have another plan, and hopefully it doesn't include trapping the shadows in a world with a means to escape. Definitely an oversight with that medallion, I gotta say. I, of course, am always trying to figure out what's going on with my friends. If I could find Constance, we might actually get out of this place. The only thing I can say for certain is that I only learn more when odd dreams flash in my head, like an echo. Mario said it might not have happened yet. Time is not linear here, so we'll have to continue to wait for answers. Hopefully it isn't too late. Ooh, I think we're getting another transmission. No idea from where. That's Mario's job to tell us. But let's just open our ears and listen.
Beijing, 3145. I'm not alone. Something creeps behind me as I continue to move into new worlds, different times. Where is this now? A city that is a major trade hub for the alliance of planets. Earth is a key importer of goods, since all the natural resources are fading. It seems to be exporting footballs for the Milky Way League. Not sure why football comes to my mind. This must be wrong. I figured European football would spread across the galaxy. But perhaps I underestimate corporate greed. I swirl above, watching for anomalies, waiting for a response. I am trapped like the others, free to roam, but no way to escape. And still, visions of a key, blurry and hidden. Am I a means for an evil force to steal a secret? Does my sentience only exist because of someone else's plan? This is the 5th world I've visited, and yet I have 0 answers. No memory of how I even got here. Reservations to keep looking, but afraid to stop moving. Will this nightmare ever end? The repeating loop that becomes redundant with every location. Beijing, 3145. Earth continues to struggle in the Milky Way League. Why do players even want to be here with all the overcrowded cities, government watching your every move? Somehow, I see a vision from the past. 2 team names. Must be a portal into this prison. Or a window out. Franklin, are you listening? Constance is lost too, in as much danger as all of us. Can you tell me what this key is? Where the parts are located?
Well, everyone, it seems we aren't the only ones waiting for answers.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball! Lost in Dreamlands! Bye weeks begin, and we have an exciting slate of action coming up with 2 matchups featuring 2 2-2 squads, and both 3-1 teams taking on 2-2 squads. With both 1-3 teams also taking on 2-2 squads, we have a chance of having one game separate the entire league when it's all said and done. We could also possibly get some separation, we'll see. This means all games are big, obviously including the next as 2-2 Pounders hosts 1-3 Air Jordan in Beijing 31-45. The computers love Pounders in this one, giving this squad an 82.5% chance to win. There are a few major areas that Air Jordan will need to get an advantage on. At quarterback, Pounders has not chosen the best of his 3 every week, but Lamar Jackson gets a juicy matchup against a suspect Bengals defense. Patrick Mahomes wins games in the NFL, but he's not doing great in fantasy for his high draft stock, and that could get worse with Rashee Rice out. But there is always Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy and possible screen passes to Kareem Hunt that could get him points. Still, this seems like a scary spot for Air Jordan, desperately needing Mahomes to at least push Jackson. Breece Hall versus Kenneth Walker is the other big spot in this one. Hall struggled against Denver and gets a Minnesota defense this week looking to bounce back in London. Walker had a monster game last week, and he gets a poor Giants defense where Seattle could have a lead in the second half, which would mean more carries for the stud running back. Wide receivers are clearly in the corner of Pounders, as Chris Godwin and Jackson Smith and Jigba are projected to have huge advantages over Tank Dell and Devontae Adams. Wouldn't be surprised if changes were made in Air Jordan's lineup still, with a couple options on the bench. The tight end battle is also interesting, and both teams swapped Brock Bowers and Dalton Kincaid. Could be salt to the wounds of one of these teams if one goes off. James Cook could get plenty of opportunities in the flex, while Cortland Sutton finally showed up last week and will look to get another touchdown, which would be a big boost for Air Jordan. Kicker and defense will be interesting, with both kickers possibly getting opportunities for multiple field goals with these matchups. Seattle gets a good matchup against the Giants, but they did get torched by the Lions last week. The Packers defense had a tale of two halves last week against Minnesota, but they do get a banged up Rams team. That leaves two players I'm watching here, and both are running backs. For the visiting squad, Air Jordan, I look at Javonte Williams. This is someone that Air Jordan needs to surprise this week to possibly pull off an upset because of the strength of Pounders' team. The problem is that Williams has 0 touchdowns in 2024, and even in a game when he had 16 carries, he still only has 77 yards. He also is on a bad offense with a quarterback who is learning and developing. Teams tend to stack the box in situations like that, which has further limited Williams. The other problem is that besides last week, Williams had just 24 carries combined in 3 games, and McLaughlin is always a potential vulture. So is there any hope for Air Jordan? Well, for one, Williams scored one of his 3 rushing touchdowns in 2023 against the Raiders. 2, the Raiders are ranked toward the bottom of the league in rushing defense, allowing over 5 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns on the ground so far. Only the Browns running backs failed to rush over 100 yards and score a TD against the Raiders. A touchdown would push Williams' potential points to double digits, which may not seem like much, but when you're chasing points, you'll take anything you can get. It could be huge for Air Jordan if anyone has a down game on Pounders' team. But if Williams does Williams things and scores poorly, well, then Air Jordan will probably need multiple beast games elsewhere. On the other side, I'm looking at running back James Conner, who is suddenly at a good offense that allows him to get plenty of scoring opportunities. He has scored double-digit fantasy points in all but one game. That was week 3, and he had over 19 touches in all games, except, of course, week 3, when he had just 10 touches against the Lions. Conner also has 3 rushing touchdowns this season, so that's huge. This week, he goes up against the San Francisco defense that just lost defensive tackle Javon Hargrave and has Fred Warner banged up and questionable at the moment. This is also a rushing defense that was torched by the Rams a few weeks ago, allowing 3 touchdowns to Kyren Williams. However, it must be said that the 49ers have held teams' running backs to under 100 yards rushing in all but one game. That was week 2 against the Vikings. Take away week 2 and Aaron Jones, and this defense is allowed under 4 yards per carry. Though this does include the Patriots offense, so maybe we don't know yet. If Pounders gets double-digit Connors, it really hurts Air Jordan's chances at an upset. But if single-digit Connors returns, it could leave an opening. As we know from previous seasons, projections give us an idea, but even high percentages to win like Pounders here, that could come crashing down at any moment during a game. All it takes is a few plays, potential injuries, or just some freak wild occurrence. Game script can also sometimes limit good players, which will bring down projections. It'll be very interesting to see if this will be the blowout the computers think it will be. Based on the season so far, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Air Jordan still has an outside chance on Monday night with Mahomes going. While the game of the week is intriguing, there are some other big games going on, including both 3-1 teams looking to continue their winning ways and multiple 2-2 teams hoping to stay above the pack. Let's get to these games and the best of the rest. Thor travels to take on 2-2 the Overcomers in Toronto 22-35, and the home team has a 56.9% chance to win. Lebowski Thor is hoping the alleged sexual assaulter can actually play good quarterback with a great matchup against Washington, especially with CJ Stroud on the other side in a game that could be a shootout against Buffalo. Derrick Henry versus Elvin Kamara, Christian Kirk versus Marvin Harrison Jr., and Aaron Jones versus Chase Brown are other big spots. The defenses could come up huge too, with Denver being picked up off waivers for Lebowski Thor and Dallas dealing with loads of injuries. 2-2 Minerva's Minions travels to take on 2-2 Risky Business, and the home squad comes in with a 64.9% chance to win. Sam Darnold has one of the tougher matchups against the Jets in London, but he has been good. Baker Mayfield is also an option on the bench at Atlanta. Regardless, the Minions either need a healthy Anthony Richardson or a miracle from Daniel Jones, though to trust this position right now, it's really tough. With no Saquon Barkley, the Travis Etienne and Bucky Irving versus Kyron Williams and Josh Jacobs battles are absolutely huge. Justin Jefferson versus Stephon Diggs and George Pickens versus Mike Evans are also key, as well as the Bears versus Patriots defense. Defending champion 2-2 Green Acres hosts 2-2 More Than Conquerors in Tokyo 1981 in a Green Bowl rematch from last season. More Than Conquerors hopes for some revenge with a 73.8% chance to win. Green Acres is hoping the Giants score enough points so Geno Smith can continue to throw passes, especially with Kyler Murray possibly being able to run all over the 49ers' weakened defensive front seven. Rashad White versus Kareem Hunt is interesting, as well as Nico Collins versus CeeDee Lamb. Also, there are some questions. Will Travis Kelce step up big with Rashee Rice out? Will Ramondre Stevenson score again against Miami? Can Jordan Addison outplay Deebo Samuel again? Oh, and the Vikings and Washington defense battles could loom large. 2-2 the Clash at Demon Head hosts 3-1 the Stellar Bitches in a huge game for both teams, and the home team has a 53.8% chance to win. Jordan Love gets to go up against a weak secondary, while Joe Burrow goes up against the Ravens. The Bitches need Burrow to knock down the Ravens' defense score on the other side. And of course, Trey McBride, the tight end, is needed by the Clash at Demon Head to help knock down the score of the 49ers defense. Joe Mixon versus Jonathan Taylor, Jaden Reed versus Zay Flowers, and Darnell Mooney versus DeAndre Swift are other areas to watch. 3-1 Remember the Titans host the 2-2 Elite Mother Tuggers in another massive match, and the home team has a 54.5% chance to win. Brock Purdy versus Dak Prescott will be key, and Chuba Hubbard versus Bijan Robinson is interesting because of the tough matchups. Jamar Chase versus DJ Moore and Malik Neighbors versus Brian Thomas Jr. should also be key. The Mother Tuckers trust the Bears offense, also playing Rome Odunze, while Chris Olave has a tough matchup on Monday night, and remember the Titans flex spot. The Steelers versus Miami defense battles is huge for the Mother Tuckers. It goes without saying that both 1 and 3 teams are in desperate need of a win this week, but no team that loses in Week 5 is going to be feeling really confident with the standings being so close. Tiebreakers are clearly going to come into play this season, and these out-of-division games will all be huge for those final 3 wildcard spots. Since all 3 divisions also have tight races, these games also matter with the hope of all of us to skip wildcard tiebreakers. Of course, the Eagles, Lions, Chargers, and Titans buys do affect several lineups. The good news is that barring injuries, that means those players will be available for the rest of the way after this week. Any team that can steal a win with a star or 2 missing will feel really good moving forward. It will be a little tense as being over 500 is nice this time of year. And that's the show for the week. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week our theme story continues to progress forward. I mean, who is this doctor that Daryl's gonna see, and will we ever get more information about these transmissions? Before you go, check out the latest league standings. Until next time, salute.